Right, there, Eliud Mudhiora Carriera, the only running mate that appeared yesterday for the running mates debate. And I want to introduce our panelists this morning. We've created first time with Miguna, who is the Governor Nairobi Governor candidate. Also, we do have with us in studio a lost son. He's a prodigal son. We welcome him home. That is a member of parliament from Kibra, right? Ken Okoth. Good to see you. And also, we do have with us as well Senator Kimani Wamatangi from Kiambu as well. We're eagerly waiting for Kimani Ichung'wah, who was supposed to present the deputy president yesterday. He's running late. And also, we are waiting for Joshua Kiptura as well to join us this morning. Right, let's just begin with the Miguna. You held your own yesterday for quite a long time. You came through for us as well. But what did you observe that was the highlight of the day?
The height of the day was obviously Carriera's performance. The fact that the young man actually honored the date. He came, he outlined the vision of his presidential candidate and himself.
Yes.
And he appealed directly to Kenyans to cast their vote for his team. Now, a lot of people may want to focus on the failure of the deputy president and the presidential running mate for Raila Odinga, who is the NASA candidate. But the fact of the matter is that the two dropped the ball. They demonstrated to Kenyans that they are not ready to lead, that they are taking Kenyans for granted. They feel entitled. So that is the second limb of what happened yesterday. The first is Carriera. The second one is the demonstration of impunity, the culture of impunity that make leaders believe that they are entitled to the positions that they hold and that they don't have to account to Kenyans in an organized debate, which is the only structured forum where they can be asked questions, where the records can be interrogated, where they can be asked to explain what their plans are for Kenya. And they refuse to turn up. The third point is this, that we thought there were alternatives to the president and his deputy, and also to NASA's presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, and his deputy, in the form of Third Way Alliance and the others. And they did exactly what the incumbents, the so-called incumbents, because these people have been in power for a long time, did. So, which means that realistically, Kenyans are left up to dry, because we thought there were alternatives, and in fact, yesterday it showed there were no alternatives, and that is very disappointing, at least at the presidential level. So a lot of Kenyans were disappointed because the explanation coming from the presidency was that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy were too busy campaigning in Lamu. So going to marketplace, dancing on the streets in caravans, and doing absolutely nothing because you are not interrogated when you are on the street. It is a monologue. You are lecturing the people. There is no counter engagement in terms of questions, in terms of interrogation, that they preferred that to a structured debate. Then, of course, the Honorable Raila Odinga did the same. So that was absolutely appalling, as Carriera said, and I called it reprehensible because it is. We cannot be taken for granted. These leaders are accountable to us, and if they are going to ask Kenyans to vote for them, then they must tell us in a structured debate what it is that they are offering for the country. Yes.
So a sense of entitlement, as Miguna is putting it. Yes, do you also hold with the same view, Ken Okoth? Because it seems, yes, they want to be given, you know, the upper reaches of the pyramid, and the other candidates should play the second banana.
I think for me, what happened yesterday that I took out from it that really, to me, was uplifting. You know, I don't know, Miguna is a little depressed as I saw some of the media analysts yesterday about how it unfolded. To me, what was absolutely uplifting was the gentleman from what do you call it, Migori County, the man from Isebania, who came up, showed up, and took the moment. I think it was refreshing to hear him, and it challenged us to think, what do we think about leadership? Generational wise,
yes.
What kind of mix and inclusivity do we need, you know? And it showed to me that we have young people ready to step up. You may say he doesn't have the experience and exposure, but the fact that he could step up when all the others actually made a poor judgment call. Everybody who did not show up made a poor judgment call yesterday, including the candidate from my party, but I'm not privy to how they made the decision. But in my own personal analysis, not showing up was a poor judgment call. That young man showed up, and it was his moment to shine, but it also showed that our media is not ready. When the news came at 7 p.m., none of the media houses, I think only one of them, had a feature story or even something of a quasi-feature story on him. They knew absolutely nothing on his background, meaning they were only prepared and ready for the main show of Kalonzo and Ruto, which is lazy and predictable. But when something new came, there was no, and my challenge is fine. It's one thing to have made a mistake for our media houses, not to have been ready yesterday. If you really are talking about the media as a watchdog of society and you wanted to host this debate to present Kenyans with what the choice is, that young man is a choice. I wanted to see today, will any media house have visited him in Kawangware where he lives? Will they have talked to his neighbor, met his family, talked to his teammates, the things that he has talked about as his leadership? Will they have tracked him back to his school? Because again, his claim to leadership as a young person is based on his life experience and what he has achieved so far. If no media house today turns up, then there's an indictment of our media. And I'll tell you this from my perspective is, has the media in the last 4 years been serious and independent in oversighting and holding Jubilee as well as the opposition? I don't think so. There's a statement that Hussein, who was going to be the moderator, made when he read on behalf of the media. He said, the media is a watchdog for society. Well, at the same time, he finished making that statement on one of the major channels, I won't mention which. It was interjected, and there was an advert from the Presidential Delivery Unit, which is essentially a Jubilee campaign advert paid for our taxes. Why is the media taking government taxes to run Jubilee adverts and pretend they don't know it's against the law? It's not even a question of asking, is it proper, crossing the line? Is it appropriate? It's actually clear in black and white. The lawyers at Nation Group can tell you that when you run those ads in this period, it's against the existing law of the land. It's an election offense for the government to spend money that way and to run those adverts. And it's an offense for you people to be taking that money and running those ads. So there's a sense people see, is the media really in charge for us? So I think there's a question, and the media must do introspection internally, even if they don't want to admit it. What does that snub mean yesterday? That even the second-tier candidates did not show up. That only one bothered to show up, that they doubt your credibility so much. So there has to be a space for introspection, because if you look at debates that are happening, it's not
do you think they're doubting the credibility of the media? That's why they didn't show up?
Big time. I think it tells you that people consider we can do without it, or that the media won't be credible. I'll give you an example. The host of the main debate was supposed to be Hussein Mohammed. How many times has Hussein Mohammed hosted DP Ruto on his show and not followed up on questions and let things that the DP has said just fly, which were palpably wrong in the public space and available? So I think you ask yourself, you know, again, I said in the beginning it was a poor judgment call for even our party guy not to show up. Kalonzo would have had 90 minutes by himself to explain the NASA manifesto without being heckled by the DP or interrupted, but he didn't. So we lost a golden moment. But on the other hand is, we've also seen, maybe at a good reason, we've seen the reason, if you've been watching the debates and the hosting and what it costs. Why is it, for instance, when NASA launched its manifesto and we couldn't buy the media houses the way Jubilee had done the week before or a day before? The media houses just didn't cover it properly. They neglected it. Right. It was the same. So the media has credibility issue, and I can prove this on the other side, is that when it comes to county debates, governors, even MCAs, people are actually taking them very seriously on vernacular radio, on digital media platforms. Smaller media houses are successfully hosting this. Residents associations are hosting even governors' debates, and people are taking them seriously. Churches and other community groups are hosting debates, and people are taking them seriously. So there has to be something that mainstream media has to ask itself. Why were they snubbed? But I'm happy that next week my presidential candidate and the 5th president of Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga, will be on that stage, and I hope it will be for 90 minutes to answer the questions and give us the vision we're going forward with.
And I hope you're on the advisory committee also to make sure that also you push for that envelope, that we don't seem to wonder if you'll turn up
Baba
or not.
has nothing to fear, he will be there.
All right, right. Let's hear from Joshua Kipchol. You think the media is not credible enough and that's why we were snubbed?
No, I wouldn't say the media is not credible. It's a question of the media being a victim of its own narrative. In what way? If you've looked at our campaigns or our elective politics, the first 4 years or the past 4 years, the political discourse has been within the major individual candidates. We have a case whereby the media covers mostly the individual personalities who are seen to be the leading lights. To be, if I'm specific enough, when you talk about DP Ruto, when you talk about Raila, when you talk about Uhuru, the narrative always revolves around them. So you've created a narrative whereby the public is cultured towards just awaiting this few personality to show up, so that if you have a debate and you have the two coalitions not showing up, it's ended up being judged as a poor show or like a no show, and the debate was. So it is a question of a media being more or less a victim of its own narrative. The last campaign, like the last 2 months, if you've looked at the coverage has been split screen, whereby one it's on the NASA, the other is on Jubilee. So when the two don't show up, you end up having a kind of a no-show. However, let's also be realistic about that. Now, out of that narrative, and also generally, now that we've agreed our elections are mostly tribal census, we shouldn't shy away from that. And the two coalitions are more or less like ethnic blocks. It depends with the different formula from the two camps. You have a case whereby the public again would rather have time to watch the main two, because if you are to use the chances realistically, you only have a case of either Jubilee retaining power or NASA taking over. That's a guarantee. So if you have such a case, you'll have a public that is expectant that for us to say we have a debate, for us to understand the issues of the players who are engaged in the battle, you will only be waiting for the two. So at the end of the day, it's a careful balance of the two, whereby one, you have the media being a victim of the same, just creating a narrative around that, so that if we have a guy like Carriera showing up, it becomes news. But it will only be for a short time. After next week, we'll forget about him. Dida did the same thing in 2013. And again, I always realize also the voters, we are moving closely towards there. The voters are increasingly taking time to have a look at people and personalities beyond the usual selected few that we've been used to. And that's why I keep feeling that 2022 is when you'll have that complete shift. Because in 2013, when Dida appeared, it was more or less like comic relief. Yes. Guys were happy that at least we have someone who brought a bit of some comedy. But this time, you found the comments about career. It was not about a comic relief, but it was like, this guy is serious, this guy is good. So we should also look for others. So we are moving towards there. So you have a case for the presidential. Now, that is the only thing that maybe for it to be productive, it would only make sense if, for example, the two top, because as at now, unless magic happens, which I don't think it will happen, you have a case where it's either the president retaining his presidency or Raila taking over. So it's a question of how can we be able now to have a case where only the two. Only the two. That is what I still feel. If we can have a chance where we can have a face-off between the two, even if it means organizing 2 sets of debates, where you have all the other candidates, which you are fair to them, give them a platform. But importantly, at this point, we are 2-3 weeks away to election. Let's be realistic. Let's know what's going to happen. We have only the first two. So can we have also more or less a clear case of the two? And if you look at the debate about the rules, and you've looked at what the two major coalitions have been asking for, one of them I saw they were saying it would be productive if each of the two presidential candidates go head-to-head, where they have 90 minutes to go against each other. And for that, it was borrowed from what is done elsewhere. For example, in the US, which is a culture, for them, their presidential debate is a culture. They always have those two tier, yes, where you have those under less than 5%, they have their day. Then you have the leading two, and they'll have 3 to the election. Why do they reduce it to the leading 2? Because of the reality. It's a question of who are the likely candidates to win. So you have the 2. If you organize the 2, there's something good about having the 2 leading contenders. Now, if in case we'll have the presidential debate. This is what I would prefer. You have a case whereby a voter gets the chance. There's a tiny minority who are undecided. Most of the others have already decided. But you have the tiny undecided. I wish you would give that a chance to look at these two people who are likely to occupy that seat, who among them has better ideas, who has refreshing ideas. Now, when you add the rest, there's the danger that the two leading contenders may hide. You know, now, at the end of the day, you are pretty sure if Dida will be in that stage, he will hog a bit of publicity. We'll have a look at him. The things he'll say, it will be refreshing. But if indeed we really, really, really want to have an impact, I would ask, for example, to have a case where we have a face-off between the leading two. So it's a question of how you balance it.
But the perception of actually the other candidates was that this is discriminatory. That yes, if you
it is discriminatory.
If you put them on
positive.
the first tier and the second tier, that is discriminatory.
Positive discrimination. It is positive discrimination. That's why we have affirmative action. So let's accept the reality. Are you trying to tell me that a presidential candidate who is polling 0.1 has a realistic chance of winning? No, let's be serious about that, Debarl.
Thank you. Let's hear from Honorable Kimani Matangi.
Thank you, Debarl, and good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, I think I share some of the views aired by my colleagues here. But let me start by affirming that indeed, in an electoral process and at the stage in which we are as a country in the growth of our democracy, having debates amongst candidates is very important. It's crucial. It has to be to start happening, and happening with regularity, if not within law, such that people can be given that opportunity. And if you look at all now grown or growing democracies around the whole world, this is almost a given in every country, that there has to be a debate where the public participates, where questions of interest are asked, and people get together views of everybody. I mean, it actually would augur very badly in some countries if you have candidates who do not show up or refuse to show up for debates. So this is extremely necessary. That one we have to be clear, so that looking into the future, we have to all agree that this is the way to go. Every candidate must prepare himself to face the public and tell them precisely in an organized manner, in a forum whereby they can be asked the questions, even the ones that they don't predict, yes, on how to answer, then they should be able to answer. But then, again, now we come to, in this current situation, why do we have the problem that we have for the debates not happening? One, I think that the organizers of the debate, who in this case are the media houses, have not done a good job. They've done a bad job. You see, within the whole progression of the politics and campaigning we've had since we went to nominations, or since before nominations, this is supposed to work like the way you have a league. Look at how the Premier League works, for example. I mean, it's progression. It's progressive. It's a knockout event whereby you have everybody beginning, then continuously you have the progress, and until close to the time now when we have only 20 days to the election, we would, in comparison, now be playing the semi-final. And in the next 10 days, you'll be looking at the finals. But now when you call on the last minute, when everybody is expecting to go and see the final, is when you are calling for knockouts. I mean, people will not come. Because, you see, first, most candidates, and this is everywhere, even in, not only in politics, if people have already now built their platforms, their status, their campaigns to certain levels, such that even you media houses now conduct your own polls, and you're able to say, like Joshua is saying, that candidate this Uhuru Kenyatta is at 55%. Candidate this one Raila is at 42%. This one is at this. I mean, then it has already been said, and so asking Uhuru and Raila to come and now go to the knockout stage and start again with the candidates you have rated at 0.1, I mean, really, the only thing you would be achieving is getting everybody to throw a bag or a stone at the top two. So what I would be saying is this. First, the media, in future, if you want us to have this debate, be organized. Start early. Everybody, when you declare now it is time to go to campaigns for nominations, call the debate and call everybody who is interested. Let them all come. And let's move along with them. And even as members of the public, as we watch the debates, we'll also be able to knock out these fellows. With this one, we can continue watching. This one, at the end of the day, it will even help to shape the campaigns and how people make decisions progressively. Right now, it would only be used as a forum to either lift up some who have no hope, maybe take jibes and stabs at the bigger ones, and it will have no value. Now, lastly, I think also to mention a few things, like for example, if you look at some of the decisions made earlier by the NASA candidate, the presidential candidate Raila Amolo Odinga, he had decided that he was not going to participate in the debates. Then all of a sudden, you have a change of mind. And he says now, I think I will go for the debates. Now, I'll tell you what that does. And the reason why that kind of decision would be made is because now it has ceased to be a debate. It has now become a platform for political score. And you see now, when he says that, he's saying that hoping and believing, because they both, Jubilee and NASA, the president had said he's not participating. And Raila had concurred purely because of the organizational failure. Then he hopes that he can be able to score by saying, see, I came. And this other one didn't come. And that loses the meaning of the debate.
Right.
Lastly, let me address the issue that was raised by Ken here on should the media be to blame because they did not go to cover the NASA events with the magnitude and color and glamour they would have hoped.
Okay.
And quickly,
I'll give you that chance.
Let me just finalize my thought. That I don't think that the media should carry the burden of NASA not living up to the expectation of the public or not being organized. I'm not being able to put up an event that measures up either to the calls they have been making of who they are and eventually to show that they don't have what they say they have been having. I mean, so if they have failed at that level to be able to attract enough members of the public to follow them, they have not been able to attract even the media to come and cover them and give them that pump that they hope. They can only blame themselves. They cannot blame the media.
All right, let's say from Kimani Ichung'wah, was the deputy president really busy that he couldn't really show up, that you had to step in for him? First of all, can you confirm to us that you were stepping in for the deputy president for this particular debate yesterday?
I think Debarl, you saw me and I was there, and I was there to step in for him. Whether he was busy or not, Debarl, I think, is a matter that's in the public domain. Our campaign schedules were filed with IEBC for all political parties and all candidates, including independent candidates like Miguna.
But the official invite was not to you, was to the deputy president himself.
Let me finish what I was saying, Debarl, because the campaign schedules, as I said, were public. And I think I want to largely concur with what my colleagues are saying, that to a large extent the organizers of this debate were not fair to Kenyans. And Kenyans deserve better than the sort of organization we saw with this debate. With global standards, I think we are way below global standards, Debarl. One, I will tell you from information I have, is that an invite was actually sent to the Deputy President's office on Thursday of last week. Therefore, when the organizers knew what the campaign schedules for each of the candidates were, where Raila Odinga would be, where the deputy president and the president would be at a particular time, since the information that was shared out to the public is in the public domain, or rather shared out with IEBC is in the public domain. Therefore, you would need to have a little bit of more engagement between the particular candidates that you intend to invite for the debate and the organizers, so that you agree on the basic things. And I think from the tweet you saw from the deputy president earlier this week, or rather over the weekend, I think on Sunday or Saturday, that even common courtesies of even agreeing on the date, the time, the content, and not necessarily the questions you ask, but what areas are we going to cover, the mode of moderation that you'll be there. There are certain basic global standards that you must adhere to. Two, Debarl, let me also say, we as a country now need to get out of the fallacy or out of this misnomer that everybody has, that media in this country is balanced, media is objective, media doesn't have any political leanings. And I look forward to a day like I saw in the UK recently when I went to observe the elections there on behalf of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, that even newspapers you can clearly tell this newspaper is pro-conservative, this other newspaper is pro-Labour, because that is the reality of today's world. And that's why it's important where you have a debate that is media organized. Then you need then because we cannot assume that the media is a neutral arbiter. And I know that the contention has been that, no, this is not one particular media house. It's a conglomeration of media houses. But again, I tend to ask myself, was KBC involved? Was K24 involved? Were the other myriad of all other private digital TV stations involved? And I think all these things are things that as a country we must really look into. And if you are to have a debate, let it be on a certain minimum global standards. I think this fell way below the global standards in terms of presidential debates. And you cannot, and the organizers cannot cajole anybody to attend the debates as they were. And let me tell Ken, and I hear you, and I feel you when you talk about getting a blackout from the media. In actual fact, yesterday when I was at the venue, I was privy to a WhatsApp group, where certain personalities were debating on how they will then cajole Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta to attend the debate by giving them a 3 days blackout. And I think it's really out of this world. We cannot live in a country where every other person, that matatu tout is trying to intimidate the passenger to get into their matatu. Then media owners and the media also trying to cajole politicians to do what they want so that they do not cover them. And I want to tell you, if you want to black out Raila Odinga, if you want to black out Uhuru Kenyatta, these are the newsmakers in this country. You cannot. And if you want to, I really wonder then who, they are the newsmakers, not news consumers. I wonder how many times probably Uhuru Kenyatta or Raila Odinga sit to watch the news. They are newsmakers, they are not news consumers. Therefore, you also be doing injustice. And I took great offense with that, because I actually saw it from one of the media personalities in the WhatsApp group. And therefore, I feel what Ken says, that probably it's begun. But I would really want to advise the media and the organizers of this debate, let us not take that route.
All right, we will circle back with Miguna on the other side of a break. You're watching People and Politics here on AM Live. And this morning I've created FaceTime with Kimani Ichung'wah, who is a member of parliament from Kikuyu. Also we have with us Miguna, who is Governor of Nairobi candidate, Governor of Nairobi.
Just say Governor of Nairobi.
Because I know you'll be at my case. Also, we have with us Member of Parliament from Kibra. This is Honorable Ken Okoth. And also, we have Joshua Kipto, who's a tutorial fellow at the University of Nairobi, and also a politician or a political commentator here on AM Live. And also, we do have Kimani Wamatangi, yes, from Kiambu, Senator Kimani Wamatangi. Right, we promised to circle back with you, Miguna.
Yes, Debarl, I want to say several things because my colleagues have made comments that need rebuttals or at least responses. Number one, there is no doubt that the Kenyan media, the so-called Kenyan media, is not independent and that they are biased and that I call them the cartels. It is true. Because the Kenyan media does not operate at the same level and with the same standards as the international media, for instance. So there is no question that the Kenyan media has been a disappointment for a long time. But having said that, yesterday's debate made me believe that the Kenyan media is capable of being redeemed. And yesterday they attempted to redeem themselves, particularly the Debates Media Limited, which I believe is an independent or semi-autonomous outfit out of some media conglomerates. So they organized a debate. It was, by all, signs, properly organized. And I believe that the complaint I have heard from NAS and Jubilee are not well-founded. The Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah came there to represent the Deputy President, and he shouldn't have been there. He was completely out of place. And it was very presumptuous of him to appear there, purporting to represent someone when he's not a running mate of anyone. He's the MP for Kikuyu. He's not a running mate for any presidential candidate. Just belonging to a party called Jubilee does not give him any special status to a presidential campaign or debate. Number two, campaign schedules can be adjusted to accommodate even national tragedies. President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Honorable Raila Odinga suspended their campaigns to attend many funerals just last week. This debate was very important. It's about the future. It was not about death. I know death is important. I know condoling with families and attending funerals is important. But what I am trying to say is that to say that you could not reschedule your presidential campaign, schedule because of this debate is completely unjustified. It is clear from the correspondence and statements from the Debates Media Limited that all the parties had been invited. And in fact, it is a misrepresentation of facts for either the Honorable Ken Okoth and Honorable Ichung'wah to say that that the candidates were ambushed. The NASA and Jubilee candidates, presidential candidates and their deputies were ambushed. They were not ambushed. They had been invited earlier. These programs had been going on for a long time. They took part in the presidential elections in 2013. This was not new. But I agree with Honorable Wamatani that the league scheme is better. And that is what happens in the United States, for example. That during the nominations, you start having debates during the nominations. And it culminates to the presidential debate for the leading candidates. And I also know that yesterday's debates were staggered.
Yes.
So that the first set was the so-called second-tier candidates.
Yes.
And then it would have involved Deputy President and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. They were not attending the debates as the Deputy President. He was attending the debate as the running mate for President Uhuru Kenyatta, the leader of Jubilee. So there were no state status or government status involved. So nobody was going to have a debate of a Deputy President and the leader of the minority party, or what Kenyans call the opposition. It was a debate of two major running mates. But I would like to say this also. They have claimed, both sides, Jubilee and NASA, that they needed to know the content of the debate, that they needed to be involved in the moderation of the debate. Completely outlandish. The organizers of the debate set the rules, just like in an examination. The candidates don't set the exams. You attend there, you are told where to sit, and you are given the questions, and you would have to be ready, and you must answer them. You can't choose the moderator, because that's like players choosing the referee.
Yes.
You cannot choose the referee. Now, I have also had Honorable Ichung'wah saying that was K24 and KBC involved. K24 and KBC could organize their own debates. Nobody prevented them. Nobody actually prevented anybody from organizing a debate and inviting anyone. But I want also to say this.
For the record, the KBC also was involved.
Yeah, but I want to say this because my friend Kipto also made comments that I would like to respond to. He said, we have agreed that our election is nothing but a tribal consensus. That's completely wrong.
Tribal census.
Who has agreed? Who has agreed? You said we have agreed.
Not agreed.
We have not agreed.
I've not said agreed. I've
Okay.
said our elections are a simple case of ethnic census.
Yes, I disagree with that. Reducing Kenyans to nothing but ethnicities is wrong.
But
There
that's
are a
what
lot
happens.
of Kenyans who are just patriotic Kenyans. No, Honorable Kipto, Mr. Kipto. The problem, yeah, you are a honorable member. The problem with you is these sweeping statements that are not founded on science or facts. When did you do the scientific
How do you
study?
vote?
No, let me finish. When did you do the scientific study to come up with a conclusion that the overwhelming majority or all Kenyans have agreed to that? There is no such study. There is no such fact. You are not entitled to your set of facts. You are only entitled to opinions based on facts. If you present opinions which are not based on facts, that opinion becomes flawed.
Okay.
No, let me finish, please.
Are you nearer?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
He says the election is a contest between Jubilee and NASA. That is also factually wrong. Maybe he meant that the major contenders for the presidency, the presidential election, we have to be very, very clear in our communication, because the election of August 8th is going to involve the presidential election, the gubernatorial election, the Senate election, the women rep election, the members of parliament,
right, thank you,
and the MCAs.
All right, thank you. Let's hold it at that so that we can also hear from other panelists. Maybe you can
and
get...
Mr. Raila Odinga has not confirmed that he's attending. So unless Mr. Ken Okoth is speaking for him, because the letter that was read yesterday said they would only attend if Jubilee's President Uhuru Kenyatta agrees to terms and conditions.
There is a conditional clause there. Let's say from Matangi, then we'll come for a rejoinder. And
would you allow me first to answer?
We'll come to you. Because also Matangi has been mentioned.
Yeah,
or he agreed with you.
I just wanted to quickly mention just two issues. The first is really on, should the candidates come expecting or knowing the questions they're going to answer? And my answer is no, they should not. You know, the reason why, before you go to face that panel and face members of the public, is that's why you find candidates digging deep into knowledge day in, day out, so that when you go there, you are widely versed with what you have. And that's what makes a better candidate. Yes. I mean, because you've got your game at your fingertips. So when they shoot a question about the economy or on this, you know your story.
Off the bus.
So definitely, yes, you don't need to be forewarned that this is what you should be coming to say. But, and that's what Honorable Chunga was saying earlier, that there has got to be rules of the debate that meet the threshold and standards that are acceptable. That you don't let that forum to become a forum whereby people are going to then take advantage of certain candidates to ask either uncanny questions or questions intended to demean them or to bring out issues which have got nothing to do with the debate. And sometimes when you find candidates being wary of, should we go, or has there been enough consultation? Because I believe that's what contained in that statement, that there has not been enough consultations. If there has been proper engagement, and I want to say this, Debarl, that really, to be fair to the media, and this is, you can't change facts, you can't change history. The debates that were held the last time, indeed, for example, like for President Uhuru, they contributed at first more than 60 or 50% of his acceptance by the public and gave him a real head start. Remember the debates, when he came to the debates the last time, there was a lot of apprehension and a misunderstanding. Oh, how is he able to articulate? And then when he came to the debate, he shone in those debates. And that is when people realized, wow, oh, you mean this guy was being said that he was going to be material for the Hague and the jails in Scandinavian countries. Now this is a real candidate. Oh, he's got content. He's good. And that's how he got a head start. And also, because I listened to that debate, really some of the questions were pretty fair. If that would be the standard that would be met, and if consultation was there, because it has to be there to ensure that those rules there would be no problem. Lastly, Debarl, there was something that was said by Ken that I wanted to correct, because you see, when he was saying that why was the media accepting an interjection to run an advert by Jubilee? And you should know that this is a crime because this is government money. The answer is that is completely wild. There is a very clear distinction between the affairs of Jubilee and that of government. When Jubilee goes out to market its manifesto, run its adverts, or market itself, that's completely as Jubilee, as a party, with its own kit. And remember, Jubilee is not broke, if that's what you mean. Because even from the public coffers, the law allows that political parties be funded, and they get funding, including Jubilee. So spending to either buy space in the media to advertise either its manifesto has got nothing to do with the government spending, and so it's wrong. And I would want, if probably in a media house may have taken what he was saying seriously to drop it. Because, I mean, NASA has been running adverts. How do they get their funds?
All right, let's say from Joshua Kipchoge.
Maybe a quick answer. Let me correct something. When I was saying that our elections at the moment are primarily an ethnic census, I can answer Honorable Miguna by just telling him, let's have facts. When you talk about facts, let's look at history. From 92, 97, 2002, 2007, 2013. What are the narratives? In fact, in 2002, it is when we almost did it differently, but it was still a coalition of the same. That's a fact. You can't, in fact...
What is a fact?
You don't... For example, tell me the two major coalitions. Wait. The two major coalitions, Jubilee and NASA.
Just hold on, Miguna. I don't want to really go off the rails with this conversation because we're actually training our discussion on the debate.
That was just an answer to him. Secondly,
very briefly,
when you talk about leading contenders, I was discussing about the presidential contenders. You can't tell me that between now and like the next 21 or 22 days, we'll have someone else winning beyond the top two, that is the president and the deputy president. But that is just an answer to them. But quickly to answer on that issue of on the issue of the debate, as long as the rules are set, as long as you can have the separation of the two, because if, for example, you share the same like you just share with the two leading contenders and tell them that this, in this case, now that we are 20 days away, we are having a face-off between the two of you. The two leading parties definitely will want to be there. And I'm pretty sure, after the backlash of yesterday, because there's also something that I think the opposition lost, if Kalonzo Musyoka would have turned up, it would have been free publicity and a good platform. Because in this case, they are the ones seeking to snatch away the, whatever their seat. So I think on Monday, it is more likely than not that you will have the opposition candidate being part of it. As to whether the president will be part of it, that is another case. But fact is, if they're organized as the two have said very well, just organize it and just make it as clear as possible, whereby as we are going to the debate, we have a case whereby we know who we are going to who are going to appear. And importantly, I still feel we are only 20 days away to the elections. We only need to listen to those that are realistically going to get there.
Thank you, Joshua. Yes.
You know the honorable senator from Kikuyu, from Kiambu. Sorry, I'm seeing the member. I'm seeing the member for Kikuyu and thinking about the senator for Kiambu. Let me actually congratulate the member for Kikuyu for being the first member of the 12th Parliament. He's going unopposed. Congratulations, my brother, on that. The senator, unfortunately, is ignorant on the law. He's not educated. He's not a lawyer. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm happy to read for you the Elections Act of 2016. Which is the law here, not your opinion, but the law. Here we have it. Section 14, it tells us use of public resources. Part 2, no government shall publish any advertisements of achievements of the respective government, either in the print media, electronic media, or by way of banners or hoardings in public spaces during the election period. Jubilee is doing this, and it is an election offense. Please stop arguing with the law.
Just a moment, let him finish.
Just knock it off. I let you speak and
just a moment.
Let me tell you the law.
Okay,
I said what I knew. You can't say rebutted, and I am telling you.
All right, Honorable Matangi, just give him time. Let him finish. I'll give you time to respond. All right, can we just have some decorum, please? All right, please. You'll respond, sir. Just finish your comment, please. No, just a moment. Yes. Let him finish.
I will read it.
Yes, please.
Section 14.
What law are you reading?
The Election Offences Act, which you are ignorant about.
In relation to what?
In
relation to Jubilee or to the government?
In relation to, let me read you an English sentence which you are educated enough to understand.
All right, just a moment. Okay, let him finish. Okay, one at a time, please.
I address the issue of Jubilee and the government. So if you're addressing the government, you're right. If you're addressing Jubilee, you're dead wrong. So I mean, can you first make
all of us? Okay. Just a moment. All right, just a moment. Honorable Matangi,
I'm addressing you.
Okay, a moment. All of us. Honorable Matangi, all of us, we have the Constitution here. Can we go to where we just pick up the copy of the Constitution? Just a moment. Just let's pick up the copy of the Constitution and we see what it says. Just a moment.
I'm making a very simple statement.
Reading an act.
Oh, this act, the Election Offences
Act of 2016.
All right,
but my point is very simple, Debarl, that
that yes, he can read the act. The act is there, it's written. But you say,
But why are you stopping me from reading
you cannot quote the traffic law to somebody about drinking. The issue here.
All right, just a moment.
The issue here, Debarl, was, I said very clearly. I was very clear.
All right. Just a moment. Just a moment. All right, Wamatangi.
Let him not confuse the activities of government and the activities of Jubilee. Jubilee is an independent party like NASA. And when we run our affairs, we are running our affairs as Jubilee party. So when you see us in Kasarani, we are not launching government.
All right,
we are
thank
launching
you.
Jubilee.
All right, you're beginning your time. Wamatangi, we'll circle back to you much later. Let him finish and don't interrupt, please. Let's not break the decorum. No, you don't have to correct him while he's still speaking, please.
When he's wrong.
We'll give you the chance to.
I am not wrong to read you the law. You first of all claimed there was no law like that.
No,
we can replay the clip just 5 minutes ago.
No,
this man
Wamatangi, just hang on, please. Just hang on.
Okay, read the law, but quote it correctly.
No.
All right.
And quote it relevantly.
Okay, thank you.
No,
all right. Both of you, let's hear from Ishungwa, please.
No. Why do you let him interrupt me? Well, let me answer my question.
It is because you have to be relevant to the debate.
He's asking me questions.
All right, just a moment.
All
right, Wamatangi, please. Let's have some decorum. You're breaking the decorum this morning. Just give him time. He give you all the time to talk. Please, no. Don't butt in. Please. You will correct him. You'll get a chance to correct him. All right, please, Okot, just Honorable Okot, just finish your point. We'll come to Ishungwa. You'll get a chance. You'll get a chance. Thank you, sir. You'll get.
And speak knowledgeably.
Thank you. Fine. Thank you.
Can I say
that? Finish your point, please.
I am glad it has brought what is known in Kiswahili as tumbo joto. Go to Kenyan law, you will see Elections Act of Offences Act of 2016. Section 14 says use of public resources. And it says, number 2, no government, county government, national government, whatever it is, shall publish any advertisements of achievements of the respective government either in the print media, electronic media, or by way of banners or hoardings in public spaces during the election period. In this morning, I have mentioned it twice. When the first time you gave me a chance to contribute, we asked, is election, is the media an independent watchdog and for society? Yet I say it seems they're in collusion. If they know the law, and the lawyers for any media group, including this one, can read this same law and not rely on Wamatangi's interpretation and check, is that an offense? Yes, it is. Why are they perpetuating it or participating in it? You know, so if you facilitate that and you accept and it says this, then what it basically says, you shouldn't be assisting in that. That is my opinion, you can say. But the law is right there and it says no government should be doing that. Now, we can ask ourselves, last night we watched the debate. At that point when Hussein stopped speaking, the government advertisements came up, and it is contrary to what is in the law. So I don't know what is rubbing the honorable senator wrong way. I apologize if reading the law is upsetting to you, but we can move on.
Just a moment. We give now.
Which is the right law?
All right, just okay. We are not saying it. Please,
the right law.
Ken Okoth, please, and let's give Kimani Ichung'wah some time right now.
I just want to pick up from where Ken stopped and their altercation with my good senator. And I think it's only that we are both not listening to ourselves, because Wamatangi is saying one thing, there's a clear distinction between government and Jubilee as a political party. And the law is quite clear. We cannot argue with the law. Yeah. The law talks about government spending public resources. So the distinction we should be drawing is it government that was drawing public resources to advertise? Or is it Jubilee as a political party that is showcasing its achievements? Because the law does not stop Jubilee as a political party from showcasing its achievements. And therefore, there is really no much debate about that. The burden of proof actually is on Ken Okoth and those who in NASA who claim that it is government to prove that in fact government was expending public resources, because if government is expending public resources, it is indeed criminal, and you have every right to follow the law. IEBC is there to take all necessary actions, but let us not mix issues. Jubilee, like NASA, like Miguna, who is an independent candidate, has every right to advertise on print, on electronic, on alternate media, their achievements. That said, And to come back to something Miguna said about my presence at the Catholic University yesterday. And I think, true, I was there as Member of Parliament for Kikuyu, as a member of the Jubilee Party, and of course, a ranking member for that matter, as Ken has just informed you, as the only MP-elect in the 12th Parliament, God willing, that we have elections on the 8th of August, as per the Constitution, unlike what NASA wants. But the fact is, Debarl, and that is where we should be dwelling on, what were the ground rules for this debate? Had you engaged, or the media organizers, or whoever the organizers of this debate were, had they engaged with the candidates, not just on the dates, Miguna, not just on the content, and I appreciate what you say, that you cannot sit for an exam and be the one setting the exam. But when you go to sit for an exam, you at least know what the curriculum is. You are given a curriculum, you are told we will dwell on issues to do with security, corruption, the economy, and whether we will dwell onto personalities, so that you are prepared for that. So that if Miguna wants to make use of the debate to come and attack Mike Sonko, or the other person, he says skills from every other public institution that he runs, and we saw that on the debate on KTN for the governor's seat in Nairobi. Therefore, it was all a question of prior planning and what is the content of this debate, or what is the curriculum you're going to test on. Two, it is not a question of being able to reschedule. I think only last week we saw elections being thrown into jeopardy over something they call public participation. Here, Miguna, we're also asking for public participation, the candidates' participation in the process. And if it is right for IEBC, it should also be right for the candidates to be involved in the process, so that you do not have, and I think Debarl was very clear.
So also you want also the choice of moderation. You have also
let me say this.
It's a very ticklish issue to you as well.
Let me say this on the question of moderation, because those are the issues I would be looking at as an interest party in Jubilee. One, I said it is a fallacy to even begin to think that media is balanced, media is not unbiased in this country. We must be able to know, if it is Debarl who is going to be the moderator, what is his political inclination, so that we sit and agree. I do not want Debarl as NASA, because he sounds like he's more Jubilee than NASA. I do not want Miguna to be the moderator, because Miguna is too independent. And let us have a neutral arbiter as the moderator. Two, on the question of what we have now branded as a second-tier candidates. And I happened to interact with two of them who were there. One was Zai, who is a running mate to Kuru. The other one was, I can't even remember his name, some dark gentleman who is a running mate to Joe Nyaga. And he said...
Moses Marango.
Yeah,
he's also Moses Marango.
Yeah, Moses. Some gentleman who was there, and he purported to be the running mate for Joe Nyaga. Yes. And one of the issues that he raised, which again are some of the ground rules that we should have agreed on with the organizers, that yes, you have called us second-tier candidates and told us to come between 5:30 and 8 p.m., which is not prime time for Kenyans. Kenyans are not yet home, they are still stuck in traffic. We want to participate in the prime time debate from 8 p.m. when everybody is at home. And his contention was that you are calling us second-tier candidates. Based on what? Based on an opinion poll. Who financed this opinion poll? Because it depends again on who financed the opinion poll, who is financing this debate, who set the date of the debate. Those are questions that we should have agreed on. And he said, from the opinion polls that the organizers said, they rated him below 5%. But he also commissioned his own opinion poll. And he was saying, he claimed he was at about 15%. And one, Zai, I think, or the others, he was saying, were about 12%. Therefore, those are issues you need to agree on way before you even sit and set a date. But you cannot do all those things without engaging, without public participation, in quotes, with the candidates and their campaigns. And I'm not saying necessarily you have to sit with Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Zai and the others, Moses and the Abdul Badidas and all the other candidates. They have campaign teams, they have secretariats that are running. Just sit with them, agree on certain bare minimum standards that is a practice globally. why we want to have a debate here where we want to cajole candidates into something that they are not comfortable with. I think...
But why are you writing on the assumption that we wanted to cajole the candidates to something?
I have told you, Debarl, without any fear of contradiction, I was at the Catholic University yesterday, and in a WhatsApp group that is running with...
are you a member of that WhatsApp group?
Well, I was shown by a member, someone who is in the WhatsApp group.
So you are not
No.
I am not, of course.
So how do you know?
Of course, I wasn't one of the organizers. I am not in the media.
So this is innuendo.
It is intelligence. Yeah, intelligence, of course. And I'm telling you, you can't prove it. Yeah. But I would challenge them, because the WhatsApp group, Debarl, maybe you are aware who the members are. I do not want to go into the names of who showed me that conversation. And there was that outright threat that maybe what we should be doing now is to black out Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta for another 3 days from the media. So to do what? To intimidate, to cajole Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta to appear for the debate on Monday. And I'm saying that, Miguna, let me finish my statement, then you can be brought to account. If bringing to account is the insult I saw you throw at Sonko and the outgoing governor.
All right. Okay, just finish your point. Let's not hark back into other debates. We are concentrating on yesterday's.
Miguna doesn't want to hear me say that. But I was saying, the thing is, we should not be cajoling candidates. We should have a debate that meets the bare minimum standards the world over, because we are not the first country to do this debate. We should even be able to know
yes.
who is financing even this debate. We have heard from the media, the organizers say they will lose at least 100 million shillings in what they have already expended. But how now will they recover that money? Two, they have said they will lose about 200 million shillings in revenues, which is okay because you're in business to make profits. But do you make profits at the expense of other people's rights? Basic rights.
But if you come to the question of financing, you have an issue with the financing, right? We have so many foundations in this country and of course the world, entire world, which are fostering democracy, and they will want to see...
I would have an issue if there isn't certain minimum disclosure, and that is why it was important to have public participation or candidate participation, so that even the candidates themselves get to understand who is financing. Because you could be financed by people who have ulterior motives.
Thank you. So we need to actually now gravitate away from the debate and close up this session. Moving forward, are we expecting to see maybe a more robust debate come Monday without all this? Because now you're talking about consultation. If you were given the letter on Thursday and you don't appear, the next week again, isn't that a special, or isn't that just good enough a notice?
Let me say this, Debarl. When you send a letter to the office of the Deputy President on Thursday last week, and within a week, trust me, the Deputy President does not get to see every other correspondence that comes to his office at the particular day. So probably when you saw him tweet on Sunday, and actually I think on Saturday he tweeted and said he hears, because he was just hearing it from media advertisements, because he may not have seen the letter by then.
No, but you see, the letter was given to the Secretariat on Thursday yourself. You got the letter.
I said a letter was sent on Thursday last week to the office of the Deputy President.
But we are not assuming this was a snail mail. This was an email, so it was delivered on that day.
Sent to his office.
Thank you.
With normal processing, you can assume how long it will take probably to get to even to him.
Debarl, what I'm hearing from the Jubilee representatives here is that they take the responsibility of governance for granted. When you are elected into office and you govern, and anybody drops anything at your front desk, you have been served. Any officer of government admits service at the front desk.
Yes.
Whether it is a secretary, whether they are executive, whatever, we really don't care. The fact of the matter is this: all the candidates were invited and they had a duty to attend. If the media decides to give these candidates who did not attend a blackout, that would be justified, because they are trying to bring them to account. If they want to buy airtime, some of them even on media, let them use their media outlets, but they cannot take Kenyans for granted. And this idea that you're so entitled that people have to beg you to agree to ground rules. The ground rules are universal, that you debate on the issues, that you engage robustly. It is a debate after all. And if somebody says that I can go to a debate or any of the candidates and you are not able to bring your opponent to account by disclosing what you believe they have done. So say, for example, your opponents have committed a criminal offense and you're aware of it.
Yes.
You can bring it to their attention. It's not an insult. If your opponent has a criminal record, if your opponent was cited by the Auditor General, if your opponent has been cited by the EACC, you bring it to the debate. It is a debate. It is not a choir. So the second thing is this. The ground rules. They don't have to agree to that. Thirdly, this issue of government versus Jubilee is an issue of chicken and egg. Jubilee is a party. Jubilee has a presidential candidate. Their presidential candidate happens to be the President of the Republic of Kenya. This president was elected in 2013. So therefore, when the ads are being carried, and Honorable Koth is quite right, because if you look at these ads, and we have to be fair, because I'm fair. If you look at this pullout says President's Delivery Unit. It doesn't say Jubilee.
It says so, yeah.
It says even at the top.
Please read here.
Yes, no, but I'm saying, yes, both. It says at the top. No, but listen, I'm supporting you. I'm supporting his point, but he's not seeing it.
Yes.
I'm saying that it is against the law for the president's office to put this ad and then have at the bottom Jubilee delivers. Because if there is that separation, then Jubilee should cover, say, Honorable Tuju is the Secretary General of Jubilee, or whoever it is that is going to advertise for Jubilee. They should do that, but they can't mix the two. Even though, as we understand, he is both the president and the Jubilee's candidate. Okay. The law is very clear. But let me finish now. There was a court ruling, because I think this debate should have been structured around what the facts are. Honorable Dida went to court and challenged the Debates Media Limited on the staggering of the debate.
Yes.
And he said that all of them should be allowed to appear on the same stage at the same time. And the court disagreed with them. The court said, no, you've been given an opportunity to participate in the debate. It doesn't matter whether one person speaks at 7, the other person speaks at 8. The fact of the matter is that Kenyans are going to be allowed, and Kenyans will have the right to hear you, to interrogate you, and you will be able to outline your plans for Kenyans. This is what happened. So there was no omnibus, as my friends are claiming, because I've had NASA and Jubilee claiming the same thing, that how can they invite the two leading candidates with everybody else. I mean, this thing was not structured. It was very well structured. They said at the beginning, all the other candidates will participate. At 8 o'clock, we will have Honorable Ruto and Honorable Kalonzo participating. Now, the issue of 8 o'clock, prime time, or whatever, those are what is called red herring. If they want to go fish, they can go fishing. But we are interested on issues that affect Kenyans.
All right. We need to bring this debate to a close. I'll just give you your final remarks on this particular conversation. We gravitate now to other issues as well.
I think very, very quickly, my just one final comment would be, we've debated the debate or lack of debates yesterday.
Yes.
The young man who showed up did very well for himself, and it should give Kenyans a reason to think. There's questions about the media credibility and how it engages with the parties and participants. They should do some soul searching, even as we condemn the members for maybe not following the rules and things like that. And we look forward to a productive debate next week between the president and his main challenger. But number two is the fact of the matter is, I've quoted for you the Election Offences Act of 2016, Section 14(2), and it tells you very clearly, and we have in today's papers samples of advertisements that are legal and illegal. This advert here is purely a Jubilee advert. This is allowed and this is legal. It is page 11 from the Standard. This is a legal advert by a lobby group on behalf of Jubilee. Perfectly legal. And number two, these adverts here, paid for by government funding to promote Jubilee agenda during the election period, are illegal.
All right.
Are these, who pays for this? The presidential delivery unit.
No. We're done with this. Your closing remarks.
Yes.
All right, right. Please.
These adverts are illegal, and the law is being broken, and somebody is profiting from it.
Just a moment.
Because you can only claim they are paid for by using public resources. If you're the one who paid for them,
okay, all right, okay, fine. All right, no. Just Kimani Mshunga. Ken. We have no empirical evidence of where. Yes, please. So just no. Okay, just a moment. No, just a moment. Just put the paper down, please. Just put the paper down. Just put it down. Right. Let's not gravitate on that conversation because we don't have any empirical evidence right now. No. Just okay. Just all right. No. Just a moment. No. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Ken, please. Ken. All right. Yeah, he's expressed his opinion.
You are taking his side.
No. Okay, I'm saying no. The issue I've said, I don't have empirical evidence with myself right now. Yes, I don't.
Want it from me.
Where is it? Do you have it?
Yes, I have it here. Use your camera. I'll show it to you. President,
who has paid for it?
No. We're talking about Just a moment.
Allow me to answer your question. You're asking who has paid for it.
No. That is just.
Allow me to answer the question. It's your show, but allow me to answer the question. You've asked who paid for this advert. This is the question Ichungwa wants, but to hear the answer to. A president's delivery unit is written here. 3 words.
Is that a state corporation?
All right. Okay.
Number 2.
Okay. Just a moment.
No, is the president's delivery unit?
Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. No. That is a coat of arms. What I want is invoices.
Please
maybe
tell me.
Yeah,
president's delivery.
That we have any contractual agreement. Just a moment. All right. Okay, Kimani Sugar, please. Let me just give Joshua Kipto a moment to.
Delivery.co.ke.
You've made your point.
Whose website?
All right. You've made your point. Thank you.
I am a member of parliament, and I am telling
all of you from government.
No, you raise your voice when you want. Miguna, you've done it very well.
Okay.
You're the master of this
tactic. All right. Thank you.
Delivery.co.ke.
You made your point.
Is a government website.
Thank you.
How
you made your point.
Stand up in the nation?
Thank you.
Somebody paid for it.
Thank you. Kimani, don't rejoin. Let's hear from.
It could be
just a moment.
Ministry of Energy if you are showcasing.
Thank you. Kimani, we give you a chance, please. Okay, Ken. Let's hear from Joshua. Joshua, very briefly.
I think you'd make a very good speaker because now you see these are the honorable members. So you have to really struggle with the honorable members.
Don't lie to him.
Please. You are pivoting away from the issues. I wanted to get whatever the next issue because if we open it up again, we're still going back forth on the same.
Yes.
When it comes to the issue of government versus Jubilee, it's very easy to, it is quite easy to differentiate the same. The reason why, for example, you would say that the advert by the presidential delivery unit, there is more to it in terms of the presumption is that it is government paid for, it's because of the coat of arms. There's no way you can have a government advert without the coat of arms. Secondly, even if you look at the website as it is quoted, but that is it is much clearer. It has been discussed before, so that should not be something even to argue about. So my feeling should be, if indeed as a country we are saying that we believe in the rule of law. Yet we are one country that are very easy and quick to legislate. But when it comes to implementation, when it comes to enforcement, we always go around that. And we always have ways in which to justify, ways in which we can defend. So such a case, it's a clear-cut paste case whereby we say Jubilee can campaign and they campaign on a different platform, not as the government of the day. And in this case, if you even saw when they were launching their presidential campaign, they made it clear. The president came out as a candidate, different from a president. And you would see flipping this way, he can stand in our platform, address the nation as the president. So that should be how it should be done. So when it comes to the adverts, the same thing applies. However, I also think the opposition should also go out of their way to also do the same thing in terms of campaigning using the same print media. I always find them to be more complaining, yet they don't buy the same space. They don't advert or put out their agenda. So I think on one hand, it is extremely correct for them to point out when a law is broken, but at the same time, it is competition. I would always love also them to come out. Let them showcase what they can do. Let them sell their agenda. So because the time is limited, we only have 20 days, it would be a good way of...
your closing remarks on this subject.
My closing remarks on this one is that, you see, the ultimate result of the debates that were intended by the media should be to bring out the fiber that makes the men who want to run for the various offices. It must bring out really, you know, what is the content of the man? Because that's what we want to come out with. And what I would advise the organizers who are the media is to ensure that politics is completely taken away from these debates. Because even if you ran these debates successfully, but then it became a platform just to air political views, but you cannot be able to measure the content of that man and see is he fit for that office. So that it just becomes then, you know, this party representative versus this party representatives and what gimmicks can they play, then it goes wrong. But then lastly, I want you to look at this advert, because just to be fair to Ken, I want you to look at this advert, because this is a problem we have with NASA.
already said let's put
No.
Please.
It is my
I think it's only fair I close that chapter on the advert, because we'll talk hours on end on it.
Let me make my point, Debarl. Let me make my point.
All right, please.
You know, the problem I've said before, when we have these guys from NASA, and first they want to run to make claims. But before and you heard him saying they're not educated. I want you to look at this, and it does not. You don't need to wear specs, and he's wearing some. You can't see. Look at the top here. What is written?
Sponsored content.
Sponsored content.
By the Presidential Delivery Unit.
It is very clear.
And I'm still being asked for
It is written. It is.
Okay, thank you. No. We're done.
It is.
Thank you, Kimani Shungwa.
There are no public resources used. That's the point.
Thank you, Kimani Watangi. Let him finish. Please let him finish.
Before you make some claims, my friend.
Thank you. All right, we want to hear also what. Just a moment. All right, thank you. We want to hear also what you have to say on social media, and Usha, she's standing by.
Right, been some of your feedback, and it seems you have a lot to say on this topic. That is the debate that happened last night. So getting straight to it, we have Pear, who says, these guys have no excuse. They clearly serve personal interests. They put on hold campaign for other reasons, so why not this? We also have Ike, who says, the media must do serious self-reflection. It is not normal that politicians who love publicity can shun such an opportunity. We also have Pear, who says, if something is important to you, you will make time for it. We have Kelvin, who says, NASA had an opportunity to tell Kenyans why they are better than Jubilee. They lost much more than Jubilee. Let's meet in 2022. We have Shiro, who says, despite Ruto and Kalonzo embarrassing the media, you will still see journalists covering their campaign live. We also have Stephen, who says, Jubilee and NASA think they are more superior than other candidates, of which is wrong. Muthiora is the man. We have Sami, who says, Eliud Muthiora Karriera is now famous thanks to the power of showing up. We have Mark, who says, the biggest losers of yesterday's debate are Ruto and Kalonzo. This is one of the tools to use in judging them in 2022. We also have Abdi, who says, the same way they escaped the debate is the same way I will also escape 8th of August 2017. We have Brian, who says, the media should give a total blackout to Jubilee and NASA. Let's wait for 8th of August 2017. And finally, we have Wix, who says, this NASA and Jubilee are just the same. None is better. We need new people in office. There we go. So that is the feedback that I managed to single out. But of course, there's a lot more comments coming through, and we would be happy to sample them. #AMLiveNTV. That is how you can get us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Debarl.
Many thanks indeed. And of course, Ousha, as you say, many of them are still rushing in. Also, we have Kibagendi Jairus saying that excuses. The debate observed international standards. A notification on Thursday is sufficient to step up and be accountable, right, to Kenyans. Let me try and put it on full screen so that you can see it clearly. Also, we have Dr. Kaikai. Dr. Kaikai kindly, he says, the media should have engaged the two major antagonists, is maximum here. Some of the candidates are much more popular than some media, right? That is what it says here. Also, we have Dr. Daniel Oyungi. Miguna represents a society of truth. That's what he's saying there. Also, Kevin Ruto. I agree with you, Machangi. It has something to do with tender barons. I can't remember what he's actually reflecting onto. I think that was much in the course of a program as well. And Kibagendi Jairus is saying the young man was brave, very admirable at his age. It's a shame that our leaders do not respect their subjects, avoiding accountability. Right, we want to close the program, but I'll give you your closing remarks, each of you. Briefly, let's keep time.
Yeah, Debarl, let me just begin with what Senator Matangi was saying, that sponsored content, if you really want to know who is responsible for it, it's very easy to get empirical evidence as to who has paid for the adverts. And therefore, I must agree with my senator, and Ken Okoth then has a burden of proof with Kipto to show us if they claim it's the president's delivery unit that has paid. Otherwise, having the coat of arms doesn't mean it's government that is paying. And if government is paying, then you are a member of parliament. You have the responsibility, civic and legal responsibility to Kenyans to hold government to account. But I can tell you for a fact, it is not government that is paying for those adverts. Jubilee has adequate sponsors, and even Jubilee as a party has its own resources to cater for these adverts. On the question of the debate, Debarl, I think I would just ask the organizers to be a little bit more engaging with the candidates and their campaigns, and have a well-structured and organized debate to allow Kenyans, as Senator Matangi says, to get to really know who are these candidates and what is it that they have got to offer, because they are those really who have no substance and no agenda and vision for this country. I'll tell you for a fact, yesterday, the issues that were raised by what they are calling the second-tier candidates on questions like opinion polling, who has done the opinion polls. Today is Wednesday, Debarl. There is one of the opinion companies who we are privy to information. They are releasing a poll today that is going to show a tie. This poll was paid for by a brother to one of the governors in this country. And of course, he who pays the piper calls the tune, and you will see when that opinion poll is published, because it is paid for. Therefore, those ground rules, Debarl, is important as we go to debates to show that indeed there's nothing that even the organizers have sinister, including those minimum disclosure requirements. Who is funding? How much are you raising? And all that.
Thank you. I have three things to say. I will agree with Honorable Ichungwa that the opinion polls in Kenya are a joke. They are manipulated. They are fake. 47. They are fake, and we should not take them seriously until they are able to demonstrate that they meet the international best practices. Two, the media must now start being neutral, being objective, and be able to give airtime to all candidates. I've been a victim of the media, and so I can't defend you so strongly just because yesterday you did something right, but then whitewash everything you've been doing wrong. So I think that yesterday you got your medicine. Your prescription was fed to you. Now it is time to work for the Kenyans, the Kenyan interest. Don't follow these two baboons as if they are the only ones auditioning. No, please. We are not in parliament.
Debarl, that's uncalled for.
Can I just finish?
Okay, let it. Okay,
I'm talking of the party. Please, don't heckle. Don't heckle.
I'm not heckling.
Please don't heckle.
Just give me a minute.
Can I finish?
Okay, let him finish.
You've already
Kimani,
let's let him finish.
We're winding up. Let him finish. Let him clarify. He's not even substantiated his point.
I'm using a metaphorical language. If my two friends did not go to school properly, I want to educate them.
I went to the best
that metaphors are allowed, but maybe you learned through the window. The fact of the matter is that we have two parties behaving as if they own Kenya, and they don't. And the media should bring this to account.
Thank you.
Lastly, I'm talking about the proposal to postpone the next election. That is unacceptable. The ballots for all the other electoral positions have been printed. They have cost us billions, tens of billions of shillings, and they cannot go to waste.
Thank you.
So I'm going to caution. I'm going to caution NASA through my friend, Honorable Koth, that
you just call me a baboon.
No, I never did. I never did.
All right,
I never did call.
Okay, we stop for time.
So I'm saying that the idea that these elections can be postponed is not just outrageous. It takes Kenyans for granted.
Thank you.
And NASA should hear that.
Thank you. Ken Okot, very briefly.
I will just insist, very basic. We have an Election Offences Act of 2016, Section 14.2. It prohibits the publishing of such advertisements during the election period, and the government is publishing the advertisements. We can see two from the press, which are illegal in today's papers. You asked me to prove it. It's here. These ads
okay, thank you.
Please stop heckling
me.
Okay,
please, just finish.
I am holding the government accountable and pointing to the whole nation that these two adverts by the government break the law, and I came to the studio and I can use my freedom of speech to point out government mistake. This advert by supporters of Jubilee is very legal. It is okay. It is correct. These two are not. Let us not be a country of impunity. The Honorable Ichung'wah and everybody else, let's obey the laws.
Thank you. Joshua Kipto.
Now, maybe my comment would be, if only now we are the decision time, if the candidates would give us or would spare us the side shows and the issues about, if we could only focus and let them sell the agenda. Let us have a platform where we can see what they represent and give us tangible reasons why we should vote or we should vote against. That, I think, should be the case. As that we are right now, we have a situation whereby you have an electorate that is disappointed with what we have on offer, but it's like we are between a rock and a hard place. You either choose this one or you choose the other, almost same case, same all. But I would wish to point something different, which I think I agree with Honorable Miguna. If you look at the county level coming down, the change is already there, whereby you find the voting patterns or the reasons for the voting is increasingly becoming refreshing, where you have the individual voters thinking different at the county. If only we can transfer the same way, if we can transfer the same lens that we are voting based on issue, we go beyond the set narrative, then that would be. And that's why I'm saying, going to the next election, I think the county elections should act as a measure. If we have had a case of independents competing favorably and fairly at the county level, then we should transfer the same at the national level.
Thank you. Joshua Kipto. Right, thank you. Let's hear from Momotangi, please.
Yeah, thank you. Debarl, I would like to probably point out to some of the issues that we never looked at, which are very well highlighted in the paper. The first is on the cholera menace, which is now in the capital city. And people are dying of cholera in Nairobi. And I say this with a lot of trepidation, because last week in my own county, in a whole sub-county of Juja, a company which is mandated by the government to deal with health diverted a whole sewer line into the only one river that serves the whole of Juja sub-county. And you can imagine what happens downwards when water in a whole river is green with sewage, raw sewage. And this is going beyond what the country should accept. We had this problem sometimes in Thika, where the 14 falls, if you go there, you find children diving into raw sewer in 14 falls. It is unacceptable. Lastly, I want to mention, because on the headlines here, we never talked about what is on the headline in the Daily Nation. That is, what do we expect on polling day? And I think that's a subject that we should have been able to deal with and say that the least Kenyans expect is a free and fair election. And lastly, on what my friend Ken Okot said, on the law he quotes, it says the crime is the use of public resources. That's a crime. So when you have sponsored content, the purpose of a sponsor is to take away that issue of the use of public resources.
We close that chapter because...
And that is why... That's why actually the media house has got the audacity and the responsibility to print on top there that this is sponsored content, such that for the likes of Ken and NASA, they can know that...
Thank you. We are closing.
The use of public resources
only fair that I'll give...
resources from public coffers, not from sponsors.
Thank you.